Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mike here at Game From Scratch, and we got some Godot news from earlier on this week. Godot now has a new home. From now on, Godot is going to be 100% exclusive to the Epic Games Store. Actually, I'm lying. I'm kidding. I'm joking. It's got nothing to do with that. This one is kind of a legal topic, to be honest. Godot, up until now, has been under the Software Freedom Conservancy. Now they're going to have their own foundation. To understand this one, you're going to have to understand a little bit of legal gibberish, and the best way to think about this, to be honest, is Britney Spears. Up until now, Britney Spears has been in something called a conservancy. And basically, she has had some issues in the past, and in order to not harm herself, her estate was moved into a conservancy. They can kind of take care of the money, make sure everything's on the up and up, but they can also make things kind of painful. And so ultimately, sometimes you want to move out of a conservancy like Britney. So we can think of Godot like Britney. But in this particular case, it's not because the Software Freedom Conservancy is stealing from her or anything like that. It's just that they've kind of outgrown it. And if you want to have access to the full funding and all the stuff behind you, you're going to want to have a little bit more control. So top level, that's what we are talking about right now. So here's the TLDR. Software Freedom Conservancy and the Godot leadership are excited to share the decision that the Godot project has reached a level of success. It makes sense for Godot to have its own independent foundation. So they have been using the Software Freedom Conservancy since, I guess it was 2014. This was actually at the suggestion of Tom Rosendale, the leader of the Blender Foundation, who also have their own foundation at this point in time. It is a charity based out of New York. Fantastic fit for Godot. Work as a nonprofit home for several high-profile FOSS projects, such as Git, Samba, and Wine. Tested and proven rules to ensure that donations are only used for the benefit of projects, as well as rules to avoid conflicts of interest. They also allow open source to grow and prosper and focus on their project, while the FSC handles nonprofit governance, accounting, and legal issues. So basically, if you donate money to the Godot project, up till now, SFC has basically guaranteed that it only goes to Godot. Godot, if they want to spend it, kind of has to ask permission or find applicable ways. And they also handle all the accounting side of things. So definitely useful, and informing the Godot project or the Godot Foundation, they're going to have to start taking care of a lot of this crap, which is kind of the downside to this approach. But it is also going to open up the flexibility in purse strings when it comes to fundraising and accessing those funds going forward. So that was way back in the day. They also managed the creation and growth of the Godot PLC, the Project Leadership Committee. I really find this super confusing, by the way. This article refers to the PLC over and over and over again. We're going to look quickly at what this leadership committee is, but PLC, if you're, say, from a Commonwealth country, has a very defined meaning. It's a public liability corporation or public limited corporation. So every time I read PLC, I think, okay, corporate or company form, but no, this is just an acronym that Godot has made up here. So just think about whenever you see PLC, it's not a company. If you're from a Commonwealth country, they're referring to the leadership team. So they'll be able to come what they are today, able to work full-time or part-time, paid by donations, also to meet in person, thanks to their excellent policies for travel and hosting reimbursement. So see exactly what I mean. The Conservancy actually controls the purse string. So when they grouped and they got together to meet all the Godot people together, they had to basically argue to the Conservancy, hey, I need money to do X. They're going to lose that requirement. They're also going to lose the community in some ways is going to look at this and go, okay, well, do we trust the new foundation to deal with our money well? And I think the majority of people will trust the Godot Foundation. So I think that's one of those things when you become a more mature project that obviously you're seeing benefits from your donations or otherwise coming from it. You have less need for something like an SFC. So, and what the Software Freedom Conservancy actually did, it's just guaranteed that your donations actually went to what they said they were, while also taking care of the busy work behind handling those donations. So yeah, that's kind of the nut of it, and you can see the details of it. It's basically they grew bigger. They want to have access to various different crowdfunding kind of ways of going forward. One thing I really like here is this part right here, highly requested ability for users to sell assets on an asset library and having a share go to the Godot Foundation. I don't know why this wouldn't have worked with the FSC in the past. I don't know the very specifics of there, but what I do know is I 100% want Godot to have an asset store, a commercial one. I've actually talked to people that put together humble bundles and sell asset bundles and so on, and they would love to do the Godot stuff. but there's just no commercial market there, and that is a big limitation. So this is something I really would like to see come into place soon. So it basically gives them more options on how they can control the money coming in, and they also have kind of better control over how things are done going forward. So they want the Godot Foundation to serve as a home for community initiatives by allowing it to have its own funding lines. Means they can raise funding on their own for a specific goal, but the foundation receives and uses according to what was agreed, such as initiatives to promote education, communication, and diversity. We plan to post regular public reports of our financial situation and the usage of funds similar to what the Blender Foundation does now. So what is this actually going to mean to you? Not really much. Basically, the only thing that you got to walk away from this is, did you only support the Godot project before because you knew your money would go to what it wants because the FFC was involved? If you trust Godot as it stands now, quite almost literally nothing is going to change on your end. On the back end, Godot is going to have to take care of some crap that they didn't have to before. There is going to probably be some administrative overhead there. They're probably also slightly more legally exposed. I don't know how much the FFC actually would have stepped up if there was a legal problem, but they're taking these things on their own. Although, basically, one of the members of the FSC is actually going to be on board as an advisory. If you're wondering about the PLC basically consists of the following members. So these are basically going to be the chairmen of the board of the Godot Foundation. So it's a bit of a who's who of, so we got the Godot founders in here. We got some of the people that were hired by the project. You have the project community leader, and a number of other major contributors here. Also, again, the SFC is going to stay on board as an advisor, and I guess other advisors are going to come on as well. So that is the details here. Now, a lot of this document is outdated, so this stuff is no longer the case. The FSC is no longer going to be behind it, and more specifically, they are no longer going to have all funding decision controls by the FSC. The Godot Foundation is going to handle those things going forward. So the rest of this article is completely out of date, because now it's going to be the Godot Foundation instead of the FSC. So this whole thing needs to be rewritten, but the thing you want to pull away from this particular page is just when they refer to the PLC, which again is an acronym that very much already has a meaning, guys. But when they're referring to the leadership team, this is them. So when it comes to the new Godot Foundation, these are going to be the people behind it. If you're interested, the FSC also has an announcement. It's basically the same details. It's a very amicable split. There's no bad blood here or anything. They are going to continue to be in an advisory role and help them out moving on. It's just sort of, they outgrew it. They want control over their funding and their control of said funds, and that is where the Godot Foundation ultimately comes in. Plus, again, they are now exclusive to the Epic Games Store. So let me know what you think. Comments down below. I will talk to you all later. Goodbye.